Thanks for checking out the Brad and John Show podcast. This segment of the show is brought to you by John Combest's book, Stalking, Harassment, Internet Trolling, A Guide to Recovering and Rebuilding After Online Attacks. It's a great reference if you've ever been the unfortunate target of a social media attack. It's available on Amazon. Just search John Combest. That's C-O-M-B-E-S-T, John Combest, and the book will show up in your search results. Now it's time for another segment of the Brad and John Show. Can you handle it?
Hi, it's me, Egbert, E-G-G-B-U-R-T, the owner of this radio station. I invite everyone to listen, no matter if you're young, old, black, white, Republican, Democrat, Libertarian, heck, I even want real estate agents listening to my station. Yes, even Rick and Tracy. You're all welcome. Now, it's back to my Goodwill ambassadors, Brad and John.
John, have you done your Goodwill ambassador duty anytime this week? Have you invited anybody to listen to the show who, positively be the whatever their political stripes are?
I have, and you know what, Brad? That's a great reminder because in my haste this morning, I did not link to yesterday's show on johncombest.com this morning, and I need to remedy that. I'll remedy that in the first break. I haven't pointed anybody there.
What would Tony from Kansas City say? Or Kansas City Tony?
Well, Tony has a lot to say. Tony's always got a lot to say. And in fact, Tony, I'm sure, is weighing in on the fact that the people that are super concerned in Kansas City about shootings, there's people going around with guns in Missouri, Brad. They might have to change their St. Patrick's Day plans for the parade because, those Missourians walking around with guns, and it was law-abiding guys that looked like Brad Hildebrand that started all that trouble in Kansas City, Brad.
For real? They're thinking about redoing the Kansas City
Yeah, it is. I'm sorry to interrupt. Yeah, it's the top headline on the Kansas City Star website today. I didn't link to it because it's generally a municipal story for Kansas City, but Brad, the people that are scared to walk out of their front door because we're just so scared with the guns, it's just so scary, Brad. It's so scary. They might have to change plans or cancel plans or whatever. I haven't read it yet. It's
one of those things where every day, hopefully you wake up, most people do, and you have a chance that could be your last day. I mean, it could be any crazy thing. Matter of fact, you could be sitting in your house and a big tree that's in your backyard could fall on your house and crush you, or a plane could fall from the sky, or you could be like near an airport and when a wheel comes off a plane and hits your house. It's one of those things where there's no guarantees. And
you can't totally eliminate risk in your life, Brad.
Well, it's just like me when I tell people I ride Metrolink. They go, "You ride Metrolink?" And I go, "Yeah, I do all the time." And people go,
it is kind of rolling the dice, Brad. You know what I mean? I mean, you are kind of tempting fate there.
Well, lately it's the bi-state buses, but that's a whole other story. Okay, every single day John gets up in the morning, knocks out a very long session of doing research on what the biggest stories in the state of Missouri. He comes up with 20, 30, sometimes even 40 different stories that he puts on johncombest.com, C-O-M-B-E-S-T. We start the show off by this crazy guy who comes into the studio and says, "What's your name again, sir?" Hold on a minute. I blew that already. "What's your name again, sir?"
"I'm Casey Kasem."
"And what do you do?"
"We're on our way to the number one."
So he counts them down, and we start with...
In third place,
Brad, on 314 Day to celebrate St. Louis. You know how the gimmick is like, every city, whatever their area code is, it becomes their day. It's 314 Day, Brad. I hope that you are prepared for some good old St. Louis girl power. Because on Tuesday night, Olivia Rodrigo had her concert here. And as we know, based on previous conversations, one of her openers was a human named Chapel Roan, who's spotlighting all the drag queen heroes throughout the Midwest. Olivia Rodrigo partnered with / gave permission to pro-choice groups and women's health advocacy to distribute emergency contraceptives at her concert on Tuesday night. So there are several pictures of this on social media, Brad. This has been highlighted by NBC News. Highlighted this because it's a great story of women standing up in a state with restrictive reproductive laws. And McClatchy, which owns the Kansas City Star, among other newspapers, they have a human named Brooke Badinger. And I looked her up. I'm not familiar with her. But in her bio, Brad, she's got her pronouns and a rainbow flag. So she's totally objective, and she's definitely our type. She has an opinion piece up that I linked to today, toward the bottom, that's where I put most of the opinion stuff. But you can see pictures on social media, Brad, of folks who attended the Olivia Rodrigo concert. The main one that's being circulated, you know how women, we've talked about this before, Brad, many women can't seem to take a picture of an object. We've talked about that, right, Brad?
No, explain this to me again. I know we did, but you say women can't take a picture of an object. Now, what
And what I mean by that is, so if you have an object that you want people to see, men will take a picture of the object. A woman will take a picture of herself in front of the object. It can never just be about the object. So a woman took a picture of instead of setting down the emergency contraceptive, which is Plan B, instead of setting it down on a table or a seat or her leg. Women like to do that too. They like to show thigh. But in general, she has to have her sexy painted nail in the picture, and she's holding the Plan B. And it's been a big girl power thing. Now, Brad, the caveat here that I want to add for my libertarian and conservative friends is there are already conservatives on social media that are saying that at the Olivia Rodrigo concert, these pro-abortion, pro-choice groups were handing out abortion pills. Plan B is not an abortion pill. So let's just stop right there. It is far from me, Brad, to pretend to defend a bunch of angry, short-haired man-haters and people that chant to girl power themes. But it's intellectually dishonest for us to say that at the Olivia Rodrigo concert, activists were handing out abortion pills. So let's leave that there. But you're going to see a lot about this on social media, Brad, and you're going to see a lot of, we can't do it. And then you're going to see a lot of conservatives stating making incorrect statements about what Plan B is.
Well, I thought it was a prescription drug. It's not?
It used to be prescription, as I understand it, and it's over the counter. Yeah, you could go into Walgreens, Brad, and say, listen, this child, this beautiful human life would be wildly inconvenient. I don't like diapers, and I don't want to have to go to the kids section at Walmart and buy clothes. Like I do not want to deal with a child right now.
Okay, now, being that I'm the kind of guy that always does the Tony Colombo test, does the flip test, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, name me a macho dude who would come to St. Louis and put on a performance, right? Are there any of them left anymore? I mean, who?
Like Morgan Waller, let's say, remember, because he's toxic. You can't have him.
Right. Okay. What if he had a concert and he handed out Viagra to all the dudes and said, "Yeah, guys, come on, you can get it up with Morgan Wallen concert." I mean, do you think the coverage would be any different? John, come on, tell me now.
I'm sure the woman with a rainbow flag who has pronouns in her bio for McClatchy, I'm sure she would cover that quite fairly and equitably, Brad.
See, now, you and I have talked about this since we've been doing the show, I don't know, maybe 2 or 3 or 4 times. This is an example, and I use this as an example of why we have a problem with our population growth and why, like, for example, in countries like Japan, they're having a crisis with population growth, because of the fact that I call it alternative lifestyles. And the idea being is that, when you and I, your mom and dad met and one of their goals was to raise a family and have a house and, and that doesn't seem to be the focus anymore for a lot of people. And the big picture issue is, and as a matter of fact, I've read in the past couple months or so, I've read several women's perspectives where they're verbally saying, we're not doing that. We're not going to inhibit ourselves by having a husband and having kids.
For sure.
We want to go out and have fun every night, and we don't want to have to take kids to the soccer games and stuff like that. We want to go to the Olivia Rodrigo concerts. I mean,
I think there's that. There's the economic independence part of it, and then as I always try to add the silver lining here, Brad, and the reminder for people. And we've talked about this before. I think everything you said is correct, but also for young men out there, it's important that they realize they can read stories like this. They can see what happens in pop culture. A number of women who went to the Olivia Rodrigo concert, let's say they're actually attractive women. a lot of those women can go there and spend 2 or 3 hours chanting along to mantras about girl power this and don't need no man, and they still want to come home and be put in their place, Brad. They still want a real man to lead them through a relationship, to tell them what to do, to be a man, Brad. So it's important that young men don't get intimidated by things like this and think, oh my God, women just can't stand us. I guess I should just be a limp little simp and just tell them they're right about stuff. Attractive women still want to be put in their place. They still want to know what their role is in a relationship, Brad.
That is John, old school John Combest. We're calling you old school John Combest.
That's right. I love that. Thank you, Brad.
And by the way, can I make a strange correlation here?
Sure, yeah.
Okay. If one of the mantras of the Olivia, that's wrong generation. Olivia Rodrigo is they don't need a man, then why do they need the Plan B pill? You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
If you don't need a man, then you don't need a man for nothing, if you get what I'm saying.
That's exactly right. I do know what you mean, Brad.
Okay, let's move on.
Up a notch to number 2.
Hello. This is Amazon support. Am I speaking with the Brad Hildebrand? Hello, Brad, are you there?
Is this about fake stuff?
Yes, it is. Yes. Have you been spending hundreds of dollars in Dayton, Ohio with Amazon? You have not? Oh, well, let me begin to process your refund, sir.
U.S. Congressman Blaine Luetkemeyer got a message, Brad, that was alarming to him and surprising, because somebody reached out to Blaine on Facebook Messenger, Brad, and said that man was Agent Blaine Luetkemeyer. So Blaine Luetkemeyer 1.0 was like, whoa, I didn't even know there was a Blaine 2.0 out here. And as legend has it, Blaine continued leading on the scammer, getting a little bit more information, like you do. I mean, I don't know if you're like me, Brad, but sometimes you lead the scammers on a little while. And Blaine ended up reporting this, of course, encourages people contact the Federal Trade Commission if they get a scammer call, or if they get somebody doing the refund scam, or you could be in line for a grant. Can I just confirm some information?
Well,
that sounded a little Speedy Gonzales, but Blaine Luetkemeyer, the story is up courtesy of our friends at KZRG, a wonderful radio station down in Joplin, has the story up today. And it's a good reminder that, you know what, Brad? I would stereotype and say that a guy, Blaine's age, he's a banker, Brad. He's a nice elderly Republican banker. I would assume he wouldn't be hip to this stuff, but he sure is.
Well, now hold on a minute now. Let me get the gist of the story. Blaine Luetkemeyer, the real Blaine, got a call from the fake Blaine, and the fake Blaine called himself the real Blaine's name, right?
He did. Well, he got a Facebook Messenger message.
I got you. Okay.
That said, I am the Agent Blaine Luetkemeyer.
Man, I tell you what, there's this woman, and next time I see this, she's a voice actor. She does voiceover stuff like that. Her name's, and matter of fact, her handle is, I believe, on Twitter, if you want to look this, is up, IRL, in real life, IRL Rosie, Rosie.
Okay.
Very attractive young lady, and she goes after the scammers, and she can do all these voices where she does, like, what's really interesting, if you've ever, like, you call into a number and it tells you your balance is $1,252.32. She does that voice perfectly. She does the automated voice. And her favorite thing is when she gets the calls and she records them. It's pretty funny. She records them.
Yeah.
She says she is Microsoft theft detection. And in other words, she's telling them that their location has been found and that kind of stuff. Plus, the thing that always cracks me up, there's a couple guys. There's one guy interesting guy, he has blue hair and stuff like that. Interesting looking dude.
So that guy is Scammer Payback. And sorry to interrupt, Brad, but the IRL Rosie, she's been on with my favorite guy, which is Kit Boga. So she's done collaborations with Kit Boga, and he's the guy that, will put on like a grandma thing.
Oh,
and
yeah,
he
yeah,
uses
yeah.
the voice changer.
Right.
So,
right.
and Scammer Payback's really good too.
Oh,
Scammer Payback's been,
and you watch
he's
him.
really accelerated his game in the last year.
But see, here's the interesting thing for me. If these quote unquote private citizens with essentially little or no technology can fight back, why can't the government? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean,
Brad, that's a great segue into our number one story today.
And it is
The number one.
The U.S. House of Representatives has voted on a bill, Brad, and depending on who you listen to, it's either a TikTok ban or it's a TikTok divestment encouragement legislation to encourage the Chinese government to cede themselves from the throes of TikTok technology and ByteDance, who owns TikTok. So quite controversial, Brad. I think everybody's heard and seen stories about this. There's some real, pardon the language, there's some real cleavage here in the Republican and conservative caucus between folks who say, to hell with China, let's do everything we can to weaken China's position, versus this is a free speech issue. Plus, you have Donald Trump weighing in. So it's a unique convergence of all these issues, Brad.
Okay, let me ask you this question. If I'm not mistaken, didn't Donald Trump propose this like 3 years ago? Wasn't Donald Trump trying to get rid of...
I don't know if he was the one that suggested banning TikTok at first, Brad. I don't know.
Well, but now he's done like a 180. He's sort of like, well,
Correct,
I don't know if we should. I don't know if we should. And I've heard something the other day. Maybe this was somebody just disparaging him. That one of his major donors is you're the stock market guy. Is TikTok, is that on any of the American exchanges? Can you buy into that company?
No, it's not.
It's not. So in other words, you can't technically be an investor in TikTok
Correct, yeah,
as an
that's
American.
correct.
So is it on like the Chinese stock exchange, or is it?
No, I don't believe it's publicly traded in China. The main Chinese entities that are the big global powerhouses are Alibaba, and then we've talked on here about Temu, and there's a company over there called Pinduoduo that owns a ticker symbol PDD. They own Temu. But to your point, Brad, about Donald Trump, and I mean, the bottom line of all this, and disclosure here, I'm long Meta, and I've gotten long Meta longer since this TikTok ban has been proposed, and Meta's been a beautiful stock. It's up 155% over the last year, Brad. But Facebook is the direct beneficiary of any sort of TikTok ban, because if you're on TikTok and you're a major U.S. advertiser, you got to put your money somewhere. You're going to go to Facebook or Instagram. Maybe you'll go to Twitter. But as I understand it, not as I understand it, as Donald Trump has said, Donald Trump can't stand, of course, Zuckerberg and all these guys. So anything that's bad, anything that's good for Facebook, Donald Trump is probably going to oppose.
Well, I think he's come out and said that. I think he's actually came out and said that if you get rid of TikTok, that Zuckerberg is going to benefit.
Yeah, you're going to empower Zuckerberg, which, I mean, it's true, but also, and I like Donald Trump a lot, Brad. But the idea that, okay, let's make our TikTok and China policy based on how I feel about Facebook. I can't stand Facebook. But at the same time, first of all, I want to make money off of it. Secondly, it's a wildly important technology to U.S. companies.
Well, I hear what you're saying, and for those of you who don't know the background of John Combest, he's Mr. Stock Market Guru, and when he says he's long on Meta, which means there's essentially two ways you can play a stock. You can play it long, which means you think they're going to go places, or you can play it short, which means they're going to go places, but it's not going to be good places. They're going down.
That's true. And we should know, too, this is not financial advice, and I am not a stock market guru. I just happen to pay a little bit of attention to the markets, Brad. But yeah, I mean, I'm long Facebook for fundamental reasons that have nothing to do with TikTok. As someone else explained it the other day, if you look at this TikTok legislation and you're long Facebook, it's essentially what's called a call option. You essentially have a call option on a potential TikTok ban, which means it may happen, it may not, but there's only upside in a TikTok ban.
And John says he's not a stock market guru, so
I'm not a Brad, I'm not a guru in anything. I happen to invest a little bit of time every day listening to the best analysts in the country. They're at Hedgeye, by the way. Shout out to Hedgeye. And so I've followed the TikTok and Facebook. I followed this thing 5 days a week through the calls. But yeah, so we'll see what happens in the Senate, Brad.
John saying he's not a stock market guru is like Tiger Woods saying he wish he was better at golf. Okay, let's put it that way.
I think Tiger wishes he was better at golf.
Well,
Brad.
I mean, still, you know, Tiger could show up at a golf course in St. Louis. And like, let's say he went to one of the fancy schmancy clubs. What's the Belle Reve? He shows up at Belle Reve,
yeah.
and he could say, "Who's the best golfer here in the membership of Belle Reve?" And Tiger, on a bad day, could whip his butt. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's absolutely true. Absolutely true.
I mean, the guy is just, even though he's up there in years, he's still got it. Okay, we have to take a break.
Thanks for checking out the Brad and John Show podcast. This segment of the show is brought to you by John Combest's book, Stalking, Harassment, Internet Trolling, A Guide to Recovering and Rebuilding After Online Attacks. It's a great reference if you've ever been the unfortunate target of a social media attack. It's available on Amazon. Just search John Combest. That's Combest, John Combest, and the book will show up in your search results. Now it's time for another segment of the Brad and John Show. Can you handle it?